I'm Graf Hilgenhurst, and this is a Porsche 928. This is a 1985 model. It's a car that Porsche made from 1980 until 1995. It was a great car in its day. Of course, 1985 was a long time ago. It was really controversial when it came out. It was front-engined, water-cooled, V8 powered, all of which were firsts for Porsches. It was supposed to replace the 911. Of course, as we all know, it didn't. It was considered controversial, both styling-wise and the fact that it was the first front-engine V8 powered car that Porsche made. It hasn't aged particularly well, but it's still a cool car. It's unusual from every angle. Some people described it as futuristic, other people described it as bulbous. There were a few other adjectives that came up as well, and not all of them flattering. Porsche offered some strange interior options. This one was called Porsche, which in my opinion looks like a checkerboard on drugs. This car was also featured in the movie Risky Business. For anyone who's seen that, you won't forget the scene of the car going into Lake Michigan. That one made me cringe. Apparently they really did drop a Porsche into Lake Michigan making it too. Here we have the original 16-inch wheels, which at the time were considered pretty big. They acquired the nickname the manhole covers. Here's another feature I like, the hatch. It's got a really huge hatch, lots of room inside. Pop-up headlights were big in the 1980s. This is Porsche's version. Let's take a look inside. Notice the huge doors. You have to step over the emergency brake. Love the sound of that V8. Porsche, there is no substitute. Here's a cool feature. The instrument panel is on something called a binnacle. This is something that's height adjustable, so you set the entire instrument panel for the height that's right for you. I love this feature. I also love German cars and the instrumentation from the period. It's all kind of black with orange pointers, very high-tech and Teutonic, much better than the stuff you see today. I would describe the rear accommodations as snug. In fact, I could just about shift it from here with my foot. But let's be honest, this car was never really designed to carry four people. This car was designed for the well-to-do man and his wife to go away for the weekend on a lovely trip in the countryside. On the other hand, you get your own sun visor back here. But enough talk. It's time to go for a drive. Here with my friend and fellow Porsche enthusiast Matt Shaw. We're driving a 1985 Porsche 928. Matt, what do you remember about this car?
Risky Business. You know, this was kind of the first touring Porsche that got some notoriety from the movie, and very modern for its time at the time. But nothing Porsche really, nothing 911-ish. It's a completely different car. The 928, I viewed it as a touring car. You know, big, lumbering, you know, had the V8, sounded good, but it was big and heavy, and this feels big and heavy.
Yeah, it does. I wouldn't describe it as nimble.
I had a neighbor that had one. He had a 930 and 951 and a 928. And the 928 was driven by mostly the mom of the family. And I just remember it was treated in their family like a station wagon.
That's fun.
4-seater. You know, anything over a 10-year-old in a 928 is child abuse. Anything over a 5-year-old in a 944 is child abuse.
I had a friend who had one, and he had 2 radar detectors. He'd like stick one in the front window and one in the back window. That was, the way to go back then.
I mean, I'm sure they had some great, touring potential, highway miles, highway potential. But I just never found them to be really that sporty.
People did track them. I remember I was an instructor at a Porsche event once. My student had one. He did okay with it.
I mean, there's people that love them. I mean, there's a 928 following that's surprisingly, incredibly dedicated. They've developed newer technology for these cars to retro them from some of their weak points. They had the same weaknesses that some of the other front engine, water pumps, timing belts, pulleys, and front engine stuff, balance shafts leak.
I'm having a little trouble shifting it. It's the dogleg transmission is getting me.
Yeah, I went straight to from first to fourth.
It's not sprung like a modern transmission. It's kind of what keeps you in the middle.
Yeah, some of the 944s were a lot like this. You can change the springs in them. Rear transmissions were pretty bulletproof. The concept I thought was very cool to keep the car balanced. It makes it really difficult to do a clutch. Good power all the way through. It had a really nice linear power curve.
Torquey. Some describe it as the German Corvette,
which is a great description. Just a little heavier. Greatest things I like about these cars, obviously the transmissions are great. The V8 engines are great. 97,000 miles, driving great. At the time, 83, 84, 85, the 928 was one of the flagships.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't the flagship. The 930 was the flagship.
And anything with a turbo in it.
But I bet these cars decked out were probably not too far off the cost.
I drove a 930 once, and it struck me that all the power came on sort of very suddenly at 4,000 RPM.
Yep, you have to get them in the upper rev. That's where the torque is. They just don't really have anything down low.
Yeah,
with such different cars from the same company, and I'm sure there were internal battles inside the company. Oh no, 928 those events.
Yeah, this is the future. Yeah,
this is it. Hats off to them for making it work. I think that what evolved out of the 928 is the Cayenne.
The Cayenne and the Panamera, right?
Yeah,
they're touring cars.
Yeah. You had a lot of live axle, high horsepower V8 cars at the time, and the independent rear suspension was a complete transformation the way these cars handled. I really, I've enjoyed driving these cars for long distances, but for really spirited, high performance driving, this is not the car. Not for me anyway.
Fair enough.